And it's a beautiful morning. Got a cup of coffee, and I've got big, shocking, breaking news. Donald Trump will declare peace in Ukraine later this week. This is a huge super cycle. I'm dubbing it the super cycle Trump pump. And you're already seeing this because all the insiders in the crypto space, including myself, already know what's coming. Bitcoin is pumping. We're seeing new all-time highs imminently. Ethereum, XRP, all across the board. It's going to be lights out, record profits, record gains on the Trump super cycle pump. So for a minute, let it sink in. Enjoying our coffee this beautiful morning, and then get positioned for record profits. Again, serenity and peace only comes through God. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't come from this earth. Peace and serenity comes from God. I've been thinking about that a lot this morning, and also existentially, what is ahead? See, so much of the world, which is deadened inside, which isn't paying attention or critically thinking, is only seeing what's directly in front of them, but they're not tapped in to, some people call it the fourth dimension, some people call it frequency, some people call it energy fields, but really it's just God. I was thinking about Nikola Tesla, who's a very interesting figure, and there's a lot of propaganda that surrounds Tesla. But for those of you that know Tesla, he of course was very famous for a lot of his experimentation on how he was attempting to use the earth as a conductor to transfer energy, like this bird and Newton's law flying above me here on this beautiful morning in the AM. And a lot of his experiments, you probably remember that very famous photo, as he was always kind of at war with Thomas Edison, and Thomas Edison got all the credit for all these inventions, but it's really Nikola Tesla responsible for much of the advancements of our quote-unquote scientific society, but I would argue really our, on a spiritual level, kind of the untapping of the unknown. For example, few people know that Tesla's long responsible for all kinds of developments like modern Wi-Fi and X-rays, and he even had a quote-unquote extraterrestrial experience suggesting he had communicated with Mars and another life form, which I actually think is propaganda. I don't believe it. I think that was put out by the elites for a reason. But I do believe a lot of his inventions and technology and his innovation and his spirit to tap the unknown was definitely real and definitely a part of something much bigger that I feel like very few people understand. And so my thought process is many are just kind of like coming around to this idea that like Bitcoin's here to stay, or, they're only looking right in front of them, which is normal, right? People, you get up in the morning, you're thinking about going to work, you go to work, you're going to pay the bills, you're not really thinking too far out. But one of the values, actually, I would say, of wealth is you actually get more time to see the bigger picture. And it's not just financial wealth, it's spiritual wealth. Like, look to see the forest through the trees and where this is really going. So I'm going to explain to you where this is really going. And it ties in to Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla was attempting to conduct energy across the earth using the planet itself as a conductor. For example, if you have two tongs, like a tong here and a tong here, and they're set to the same frequency, and I take a fork and I hit the tong and it starts vibrating, the same tong on the same frequency on the opposite side, on the other side of the room, will also vibrate. How is that possible? Well, energy was conducted virtually to the point where you couldn't see it actually conduct. You can turn on a light bulb by using conductive energy wavelengths and force and send it across the living room to power something without an actual physical electrical cord. The reason I'm talking about that, sounds kind of strange, is that it's actually what the elites have done to the American people and populations worldwide in recent years regarding the topic I'm not allowed to discuss. For example, we are now moving to the internet of bodies, going back to the point where I'm so far past like Bitcoin now. Like Bitcoin's so obvious and we already know it's going to, create untapped wealth, overtake the entire world, replace the modern economic financial system, and literally replace governments. Like, I'm so far past that. I'm looking at how will this influence and affect society at large? Like, how is this going to affect the infrastructure of population management and control? Like, where does this go spiritually, existentially, purposefully? What is the intent of the elites? How are they designing this mainframe network, so to speak, for control? This new apparatus, of course, that they designed. And so what's happening now, with what I can say, right, is that they're using human beings as the conductive force of energy with what's inside of you. Also, for example, a long-standing conspiracy, which is, I've alerted you to these facts for years, which are now proven to be facts, is that what they're spraying in your skies, barium, strontium, I believe it's called, all kinds of other chemicals. Remember, they used to say that that was a conspiracy theory. Now it's fact. They're doing it. They're terraforming the earth. Why? Again, it's conductive. It's how the energy transfers. All the satellites in your sky, and now the connection point of human beings, the internet of bodies, which is the last component of the merger, of the transhuman merger, to merge human beings with the silicon and with the technology. They have to conduct that energy force somehow and transfer it over a worldwide network. This comes from spraying the skies, which allows, just like Nikola Tesla was able to conduct energy to turn on a light bulb across the room without using a cord, is the same conductive force and principle that they're using to manage and control populations around the world. Again, this all ties in to everything currently under development, from AI to healthcare to Bitcoin to crypto to blockchain, etc. So again, the big question is, we talk a lot about money and success on this channel, is not just where the economy is going, not just like what's going to happen with Trump's tariffs and what's the next geopolitical move, which I'm super interested in and I want to know. But the real questions I'm asking are actually not those. They're spiritual in nature. Because we are engaged in fighting a war of spirit against principalities and evil and darkness. The question a lot of you probably ask is why? Why would the elites want to do this? Why are the elites this evil? Like, why is their goal to deaden human beings? And we've all noticed this. Let's just be honest, guys. We've all noticed this. But noticed how the light has been removed from a lot of people around the world that used to be there post 2020. It's like something turned off, right? I can only say what I can say. Remember, I was telling you about the movie Superman. Where does Superman come from? Krypton, right? And he seeds humanity as an alien, just like artificial intelligence, the alien invasion, which I coined and dubbed that years ago. And what does Krypton hold? What is in this latest rendition? And we'd have to go research some of the old Superman movies as well, is the codex, the code of humanity is in focus, of which his planet Krypton can't repopulate and terraform the Earth, or the new Earth that they'll terraform, which Superman he's like the good guy fighting evil, fighting the evil empire of darkness that is trying to eradicate humanity, but he's the lightning rod supposedly to save humanity, almost like in Christ-like, Matrix-like form, which, by the way, the movie The Matrix is all about a rendition of fake Christ and an inversion of Christ where Neo is like Christ, but it's about worshiping yourself and your own power and not the power of God. And that was the whole point, of course, of the movie The Matrix, which is a fantastic, fabulous film, which I think is probably one of the best, most impactful, imprinted films I've ever witnessed. But understand the deep underlying propaganda there. It's much about the self and the personification through human worship and human spiritual power than it has anything to do with God. Again, the two directors are two men that transitioned into new life into women. Two brothers. I forget what their names are. Very interesting thing. They've produced very good films, but kind of provides a little bit of a context of their own personal journey personified into their own art and their own filmmaking. And so again, where is this going? Like so many of you, probably not you guys, but the world is looking at things only at face value at the surface, but failing to ask the real critical questions of where this is going. And the things that I've noticed throughout the years, especially post 2020, is that definitely something has changed in the atmosphere with what's in our skies. Also what they're hitting us with, because I can even notice this in parts of Hawaii now, which I never noticed before, because they're using our skies to conduct the energy force field, and the transference of energy as a conductor, which then is connected to all the satellites in the sky, the space wars, the space force, SpaceX, that is then conducting through human beings as the internet of bodies, as the last stand for spirituality and the God, Gene. And of course, what the elites aim to superficially, artificially control. Keep in mind, AI is artificial. You know what artificial means? Fake. So artificial intelligence is not God. It is a fake, man-made, artificial reality, fake creation or understanding of the universe. I mean, let me just give you a point. Like this whole idea that the scientific community says they know what's in a black hole is a lie, right? They're like, they say that they can see light years out and they understand the nature and origins of the universe and all this bull crap. Yet they've failed to solve even basic problems and complications like on this planet, like what they can actually touch, see, and feel. So all this la-la land of, you know, science and technology and where it's all going and just this fanfare that we're going to colonize Mars and all these other lies, which again, there's an interesting history with Nikola Tesla, who suggested he had communicated with Mars and other extraterrestrial force. And then there was another scientist whose name was Mars something, who also verified that. And now, suddenly, even though they say Nikola Tesla is like the guy history underestimated, he's in all of our faces now in public milieu consciousness all the time. Our new Nikola Tesla, the quote-unquote alleged genius Elon Musk, literally runs a company called Tesla, which really has nothing to do with Nikola Tesla outside of the fact that it's just mind speak and sheer kind of propaganda and like brainwashing of the masses. So the question is, where is this going spiritually? That's actually what I'm more interested in. Again, my goals for you are to empower you with tools and ideas and help you to create wealth, to find purpose and spiritual highness where you can be closest to God. You're going to need those tools, and that's why we spend so much time building financial wealth. And we've built physical wealth with Island Project and the Digital Noah's Ark and all these beautiful things. And I can even speak freely, just my own personal journey, having been an entrepreneur and somebody who's never given up and has always pursued the daunting and the unimaginable, what people said was impossible. To see that fulfilled in my own life, like literally to be sitting here right now at 43 years old and to literally live the dream supposedly that everyone aspires to, gives me a different perspective. And I was having a real kind of phenomenal conversation with my wife over dinner last night, talking to her about that, how, you know, as you get older too, you start thinking about things in a different manner. Philosophically, spiritually, you start looking at things from a different vantage point. You start looking at the second half of your life. You start thinking about more legacy. You start thinking about ways that you could empower and give back more, where I think it transfers from individual focus to how you can give more back, right? Because our imprint in the world is important in the spiritual realm. For example, I believe that the work that we've done together over the years and how we've changed minds, hearts, and most importantly, souls is actually the most powerful thing that we've done. I believe it to be the most powerful thing about Island Project, to be honest, which is why the pursuit and that journey and that excitement and that passion and that drive and proving the imaginative to be possible and in ideas and seedling of ideas to be purposeful, to have intent, I think is the greatest reward that I've ever felt in my life. And so why am I talking about this and why are we talking about this today? Because we are at a very important pivot point in humanity today. And again, the war is a spiritual war. And we all need to be blocking and tackling, and all of us need to pay bills and, you know, show up and put in the work and the elbow grease. And you guys know me better than anyone in the world. Like, I've never shied away from that. I'm an ass kicker, along with all of you tuning in. But the point being, let's start looking towards the higher level, the higher purpose. Where is this going? What's happening to our brothers and sisters? What is the purposefulness of what it is that we've been building and what we've been doing, along with all of you? And I'd like your commentary on this too. I'd like your commentary. How do you feel post 2020? Do you feel like people have changed? Have you noticed a difference in people? I have. I've noticed a clear distinction in people that have light and those that don't, and those that may have lost it. And I don't pretend to be the judge. I'm going to leave that to God. God is the creator. God is the all-powerful. God is the universe. God is the almighty. But I can tell you right now that the elites are full-blown going for it right now, dude. They're not even hiding it. I mean, we're going full transhumanism, full mark of the beast, full merger. Even Apple computers came out just yesterday, and they're pushing neural lace implants next. They're going full that direction. And the American people have been turned off, where they've lost light. They've lost critical thinking ability. They've lost a skill set of pragmatism, of honesty, of vantage point, of looking at a bigger picture and a bigger view. And why are the elites doing that? Well, it's actually not complicated. The people in power want people around just enough so that they can be controlled, just enough to where they can extract profit, just enough to where they can control and conduct energy. And that's all that's happening. And again, this wide web, this world wide web, is now being terraformed above us, in our skies, in your body. Can only say so much. And pretty much everywhere else you can think of. And that network being built is not the network of God. It's a network of Satan. So as we approach this next phase, as the digital Noah's Ark is now sailing now, we're an operating business network with 400 amazing faith first, God first fearing people from around the world and dozens of countries worldwide, and we're expanding I want you to know, as the sea captain at the controls, along with my father and our team, and God driving, he's the one actually driving. We're just listening to him. I'm like, which way, God? This way or that way? And just whatever he says, we follow. That's what we're really fighting against. That's really what we're pushing forward to. Just like Noah, when he was battening down the hatches and God slammed the door shut and he's sailing along with his family on the ark. God had a plan and a design for that for the next phase of events. Eventually, the repopulation of the earth, the blessing of Noah and his family, the eradication of the evil. All of this is coming again, much like in cyclical fashion. And I also want to reveal a secret to you if you don't know, and it's honestly the secret to my success, is God. But again, these ideas, these even scientific revelations, for example, math was not created by man. Math is just the language of the universe. Math is a discovery, not a creation or an invention. The numbers and the way that the world works as we describe it is only representative of what already exists in the universe of what God, the Creator, created. And so a lot of people don't understand this truth, that whatever you're using to put out into the universe and conduct spiritual energy, not fake energy, not the scientific replication, artificiality, fakeness of energy, or the artificiality of artificial intelligence, or the fakeness of fake man-made created intelligence. I'm talking about the true King, Christ himself, the true intelligence and true God. That when you understand that truth, you are able to unlock that power in your own life. And you'll notice people that know that, and that person should be you, can unlock any potential, can unlock any vision, can create any idea, and are truly an unstoppable force of greatness, not because of yourself, but because of him. And so today, as you'll tune into a lot of different people, and you'll be following politics, and there will be major announcements from Trump, declarations of peace and tariffs and making America great again, and talk about balancing the budget and all these things that are kind of like top of mind. That actually really isn't the real question. Back to some pragmatism too, you'll notice that Moody's downgraded the US debt. The dollar is finished, guys. Finished. They just lowered our credit rating from AAA to like triple trash. It's over. So the pandemonium and the panic into Bitcoin, into crypto, into blockchain, into real assets, even the birds know above me, flying above me, is just going to accelerate. And as the general populative masses start to catch on and see what's right in front of them, most of everyone's going to fail to see or realize what's really next. And that's what I'm explaining to you now. That what we've been doing together is so much more powerful than what many of you see at the surface. And I know many of you see that, and you see exactly what I see, and I see this through my members, because I'm sure many of you are smarter than I am. But just like Jesus spoke in parables, so do I, a lot, online. And I have through the years, for a very specific reason, to accomplish the mission that I knew God gave me as my personal God-given mission. So it's a very exciting time to be alive. There is reason for joy and hope and cheer. My father and I have both been describing this as our victory lap here in 2025, because this is the beginning of something so incredible and so amazing and such an untapped spiritual life force that I've never experienced in my entire life, that is so powerful and so meaningful and has such a high depth of spiritual force and spiritual prosperity that it's just an honor to be a part of it. And so my prayer for you tuning in is to have discernment in the times and the days and the years to come. And to remember this conversation. And to not just remember it, but to pray on it. To get involved. To take action. To put your talents, your mind, your spirit, your soul, your finances, and your money where your mouth is. And where your, more importantly, heart is. And do something powerful with your life that can help others, that can solve problems, and that can be the light that still flickers and rages in the followers of Jesus Christ and will never die. That is an eternal, beautiful, amazing, joyful, hopeful, and will outlive the fallenness of this world and the darkness of what we often see encumbering all around us. There is hope. There's people that are alive. It says in the Bible, and we know this as Christians, that when you give your life to Christ, you become a new creation. You become new life. There's a light. There's a spirit. It was something I was always drawn to because I noticed this among other Christians as I was a young man and mentors that have helped me along my own journey. And I've seen this in so many others. And one of the most profound thing I ever witnessed in other Christian men who I've had many mentors and women is I always look and saw something I couldn't find or see anywhere else. And I wanted to know, why is it that they had light, but then I wasn't seeing it in other places? Because God is light. God is love. God is hope. God is king. God is the judge. God is the healer. God is the source. And we see this all the time, and I'll finish with this. We see it kind of in the new age, hokey pokey, hocus pocus. There's a lot of people out there, they're almost there. They've got it all figured out, but they're not quite to Jesus. They understand that they can manifest actually what they want. They've kind of tapped in slightly to the fact and the idea that, oh yeah, I can just put energy out and it'll conduct to the universe. And that conduction actually yo-yos back like a boomerang. Right? I tell you guys this all the time. Think and grow Bitcoin rich. You can make endless, unlimited amounts of money. The universe is completely abundant. Just like the oil is completely abundant. Remember they said it was peak oil, now it's abundant. They found more, or energy transfers form in terms of the law of thermodynamics, or Nikola Tesla's conducting energy across what? There are multiple dimensions and spiritual dimensions that exceed the two-dimensional world of which you and I can experience or see ourselves. We live in a 3D world, but we can only see 2D. And in a 4D world, theoretically, that would mean that the 4D world organism saw in 3D, and a 5D world organism would see in 4D, and a 6D, technically, in theory, as I've studied this too, that time and space are two different things, and that they believe that infinity by itself actually kind of may or may not be true, that unlimited infinite time actually probably bends on a curve. Now, I don't believe in the science, but what I'm pointing out, what the scientists say that have a very limited understanding actually proves the reality and spirituality of God, because it is all cyclical and all circular. It's the same reason why, by thinking, you can transform all of reality and paint the canvas of whatever you want to paint, because it doesn't come from you, it comes from the source. If you are able to tap the source, you then have a palette of all the different colors, just like the beautiful rainbow that we can see with our two-dimensional eyes. But there's so much more than that. Just like the light spectrum, we only see this much, but it's almost infinite. It's actually what I think heaven looks like. I think that what we can't see here is what we see there, where the real kingdom wealth is, and where the real mansions are. But while we're here, man, we're going freaking big, dude. Because none of this is real anyways. Only that is. And what are you afraid of? What do you fear? That's not real either. There is no fear in God. We fear God, but there is only hope and love. There is only power in infinity. So I'd like to hear your thoughts from pure practicality business speak, just dumb it down into what's going to happen this week. Again, expect these massive peace deals and the golden age to be unlocked, and expect Lambos and Ferraris and Rolexes and Panerais, and the list goes on and on. Expect Bitcoin to break new all-time highs. Expect the generalized masses that don't really know what's going on to start onboarding this new system like sheep. I'm sorry to say, and they miss this a whole other level of what is interesting about life, this whole other experience that is far more important. But just like Jesus spoke in parables, so do I. And I think you guys know that the intelligence that we collectively have is so much more than it was what typically is revealed. And that can what honestly be understand in terms of human perception. I'm not going to show you this because I don't think God wants me to, and I want to remember it in my own mind, but I'm looking above me as I sit here on the ocean. There's a cloud, it looks like a bird flying, and there's light coming right just in front of it. Because why? Because God's showing me again, not only is that his creation, but I'm painting that. You can paint. Do you understand? And I'm going to leave you with a motivation point. So many people that I know, and this is why, honestly, success, wealth, entrepreneurship can be very isolating at times too, is because so many people of the world have given up. They've given up out of convenience or fear. Look at 2020. So many people complied because they were like, well, I just wanted to travel. Or they or they were given a free donut or something. And that was all they needed, hook, line, and sinker, to give up, any kind of contrarian thought or opinion. And by the way, I'm not judging. It is absolutely your choice to make whatever decision that you want. That was the whole point of 2020, is that they were removing people like me and my authority and sovereignty and my decision making. They were removing the rights of that you're free and have sovereignty. That was the point of it. Not because I care what other people do. You should be entitled to do whatever you want. I'm not judging. But the point that I'm making is that so many have given up. Don't let that be you. I am here to tell you to not give up. There is a better way. There's a better path. It's harder a lot of the times. It's going to be harder than the normal path. But it's better, dude. It's better. I'm still on it. I'm not finished yet. It's not over. It's just the beginning. Just like God swallowed up Jonah in a whale or a large fish, however you interpret it, and then spit him out again. God's got this whole thing already mapped out and terraformed himself. We don't need to rely on science to do it. What Nikola Tesla and others were tapping into was already a fixture and concept of the reality that's already been created. It's a discovery, not an invention. And this is what you must understand. So all these ideas of you're going to Mars and, they're going to have cancer cures immediately, and they're going to tell you to take the mark, but they're not going to call it the mark. And there's going to be a Republican version of the mark and a Democrat version of the mark. And you're going to have the Democrats selling a version of it and the Republicans selling a version of it. And they're going to create duality and biases. And all of that is not an invention. All they're doing is perverting, fabricating in an artificial way, just like AI, what God has already built, what is true power, what is true spirit, what is truth, and what is real God. So again, as we move forward in the valley of the shadow of death, understand this truth, that you have that power through Christ the King. All you have to do is give your life to him. So let's end in that. God bless. Jesus Christ is King. Dear God, I pray for this audience. I pray for, even if it's just one individual tuning in, that wants to give their life to you today, that'll help them give their life to Jesus Christ, our King, to untap their true spiritual life force and purpose here on this earth, because their purpose is bigger and eternal. It's the kingdom. It's what we call kingdom wealth here at AMTV and the Digital Noah's Ark. I pray to ask Jesus into your heart at this moment, and to maybe for those of you that are believers, for all of us, myself included, to recommit ourselves to Christ, to recommit ourselves to your creation, recommit ourselves to your glory, to your kingship, to your absolute truth, especially in this time now that we enter. Darkness around us, people that are losing light. We pray that you would turn them back on, that you would set the fire and the flame again, and that they would come to you, and that they would reinvigorate in their hearts to find new spirit and new life and rebirth in the name of Jesus Christ, the King, your blood that was shed. And I love you all. I'll have more updates. There was something else I was going to say, but I'm going to save it for another video. But I want you guys to pray on this today, and I want you to understand what's coming. And know that myself, my team, my incredible Father, we're all leading the charge.